Good evening, everyone. Today is Tuesday, February 24th, 2026. It's 6:32 p.m. This is the Finance Committee meeting, and I'd like to call the meeting to order with a Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
to which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible,
liberty,
and justice for all.
all.
Under Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20F, this meeting is being recorded. On March 28th, 2025, Governor Healy signed into law a bill which extends the temporary provisions pertaining to open meeting law to June 30th, 2027. Specifically, this further extension allows public bodies to continue to hold meetings remotely without a quorum of the public body physically present at a meeting location and to provide adequate alternative access to remote meetings. This language does not make any substantive changes to the open meeting law other than extending the expiration date of the temporary provisions regarding remote meetings from March 31st, 2025 to June 30th, 2027. All right, well, welcome everyone. I'm going to announce who our Finance Committee members are, since we have to do that since we're remote. So we've got Christopher Thrasher, Hugh Morton, Cindy Brown, Al Lees, Gary Carrero, and myself, Karen Rouse. And I'm not seeing, I know Nancy Stanton Cross said she would be joining, but I don't see her right now, so she's presently not here. And Duncan Law is not here tonight, and Zach LeBrew is not here tonight. So that is everybody so far. So when Nancy comes in, we'll just record her time. Well, good evening, everyone. The first item on our agenda is to continue to talk about our budget fiscal 27. We did have two town departments. The plan was to talk about the beach first, the town accountant, and then move on to Diamond. But I do not see Sean Leach from the beach department here. And I do not see Nicole, our town accountant, here. So we can move right on to number 3. I think we have several Diamond folks here that I'll let Cindy, maybe you can let us know who your contact is, and I think you might have asked them to come for 7, but they seem to all be here. So if they're all here, we can certainly start with them.
Yeah, I'm glad that they did decide to join when meeting began. So Paul Jennings, I'm going to let him tee it off. Paul is the Westport representative to the Diamond Board. He's been a member of that board for some time, up for re-election this year, as a matter of fact. So I'm going to let Paul introduce the people from Diamond.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
We have Brian Bentley, the Superintendent Director of Diamond. Do we have Melissa? I'm not seeing Melissa.
I am here, thank you.
Okay, Melissa, she's the Director of Finance. And is Leslie?
I don't see her, Paul. I know I sent you.
She is there. She is up on the upper top screen.
Oh, here we are.
Oh, okay.
Gotcha.
She's the Assistant Superintendent Director and soon be Superintendent Director as soon as when Brian retires at the December 31st, January 1st. So I know you invited us in. It's been a while since I actually been before the Finance Committee. We have Melissa, who can hopefully answer any of your questions that you have. I know you're looking for figures for the town meeting, correct?
Yes. So our assessment for the coming year, and then to give us kind of an update on your construction and where you stand on your budget for your construction and how that's going to play out. Melissa, it was great. Melissa did send us some material earlier today, so that's helpful that we can follow along. Is there any way, Melissa, if you're going to discuss that, can you share that on your screen?
Well, let me see if I can. Hold on one second, please. So let me see if I can share this.
This is one of those super helpful days that we have the ability to have remote meetings, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Can you
Oh,
see my?
one, yep, that's great. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. No worries. Sorry, just bear with me for 1 second. I have to put this side by side. Okay. All right, so this is just the budget based off of the numbers that we received from the Department of Education. So the assessments to the town of Westport will total $2,459,514. And that comprises of our regional transportation of $28,572. And the $366,575 for the bond that we have. I did send over a copy of the debt schedule, which will is the final schedule and will continue. There'll be no changes to that going forward. And then our foundation budget of $2,063,368.
Do you know how much of an increase that was from the prior year?
Yes. So it looked like there were 3 additional students. So this year for Westport, it looks like it was 109 students, and it was an increase of $170,784.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So, so just educate me a little bit. So we're saying that we had 3 additional students from Westport at $170,000 in total increase. Am I hearing that correctly, or am I missing the point?
Yes, that is the overall increase from 26 to 27. Yes.
But is it
Oh.
attributed just to the students, or is that also increased costs?
There are 3 factors that come into it. It's the property value, the income, which is based on the state tax returns filed with Department of Revenue, and the revenue growth within Westport.
For 3 students, is that what I'm hearing?
That is correct. Yes.
So we're looking at a cost of 55, doing cocktail math, $55,000 per student, additional students to go to Diamond Vogue.
I'm just doing that same math as you. You said about 18,000. Is that what you said, or 19?
No,
No.
No, what I thought I heard you say, and again, I could be wrong, that there was an additional increase of $170 some odd thousand with the
Yes.
increase of 3 additional students. If that's the case, we're looking at $58,000 per additional student to go to Diamond.
That is correct. Yes.
Okay.
So,
But-
well, I think I think my question, kind of piggybacking off of what Al asked, was that if no additional students had attended Diamond, if it was the same amount, and the 3 additional, we wouldn't have had an increase year over year of our annual assessment?
You would have, and again, this is all because of the Department of Revenue and the Department of Ed and how they calculate out the assessments. And again, it's also based on relative
Right.
wealth.
So
So-
getting back to Al's point, it's not just because we had 3 students that it went up 170,000.
Correct. I mean, the 3 students does contribute to it, but
Right.
the other factors also play a
Okay.
part into that. So regardless
Okay.
of whether you had 3 students or not, that you would see some sort of increase.
There would have been an increase. Okay.
Absolutely, yes.
Just if I could, it's roughly about 18,900 per student to go to Diamond. That's basically what it comes out to, roughly.
Yes.
So let's call it 20 just for round numbers, Paul,
Yep.
if you don't mind. So
Right.
we've got $60,000 of the additional 3 new students, which means that we have $110,000 of assessments quote unquote, other than, students per se.
Right.
Okay,
Yep, yep, yep. And like Melissa said, that actually is not set by Diamond. That's actually done by the Department of Revenue.
Correct.
Okay.
And with the Department of Revenue, it is also based on what the members of Westport are filing on their tax returns. That all plays into effect.
And unfortunately, some of us have painfully gone through that exercise with the Department of Revenue to try to figure out how Chapter 70 is calculated. And it's
So Rob
it's a very-
O'Donnell at the Department of Ed is putting out a webinar that I am looking to review to get to dive deeper into how they calculate that out. But there's a lot of factors for all around between minimum contribution and everything like that.
okay. Yeah, I'm just trying to understand. That's
Absolutely
yeah.
understandable.
And over my years, I've questioned this with the Department of Revenue, and basically they told me it's based on the community's ability to pay.
Yes,
Correct.
that is correct.
Yep.
And if anybody could ever figure out that formula, you would be like the world champion on Jeopardy, okay? Because it is an enigma wrapped inside a puzzle.
It is.
It has been since they created it. So your question is well-founded. Unfortunately, we don't have an exact answer because they don't have one.
well, as my father used to say, a camel is a horse designed by a committee. And that's
That's a good way of saying it. I like that.
All right, folks, we have someone that's got their hand up for a question, but before we go on to that, Sean Leach, I did see you just joined. We did have you scheduled right at 6:30 to start your budget, but since you weren't here, we moved on to Diamond. So if you're able to stay after this presentation, we'll get to you next. And if you have to go, then we can reschedule you. So sorry about that. So Gary, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, thanks for Diane coming in. As Paul had mentioned, it's been a while since we've had them come in. I thought it would have been a good invite to have them here because they're a big piece of this budget, part of the town's budget. So a couple of questions I have. What are the trends with enrollment? Are we seeing that increase, go down over the last 10 years? And what is the projection for, I guess, the next 2 or 3 years? That's my first question. I don't know if somebody has that information.
Mr. Jennings, would you like me to take that?
Sure. Go ahead, Brian.
The projection for enrollment is that it is increasing over the last. Let me just go back to the last 4 years. That I've made it every year. I've made the attempt, and it has been successful with the committee's help to bring in 385 grade 9 students and then maintain them. And that's the key. Students would come to Diamond and they would, like grade 11, they'd leave, and we don't want that. So we opened it up to bring in students from grades 11 and 12 into Diamond. They can transfer in so long as they have a vocational background. We have been successful with that. So our enrollment has increased. The enrollment for this particular assessment, the assessment numbers was set at 1,480 students, which is high because we're maintaining that. The projection with the new school will give us more space, and it will allow us to bring in even more students as we start growing. This next year that's coming up, we're going to be maintaining our numbers that we have. But then as we settle into the new building, knowing where we have the room in the shops, the rooms in the academic classrooms, that is going to start to grow. The capacity of the new building is set at 1,500 students, with the apportionment of that number being done by the charter. So I believe that Westport, I could be wrong on this number, but for round numbers, it's about, I want to say maybe
5.3.
Thank you, Paul. That's not round, that's very exact. So that 5.3% for Westport will still continue. That's not going to go down. So we are still well sought out. I'll give you an example. This year we had 877 applications for 300 and what will be hopefully 385 grade 9 spots. So that shows the interest that's there in Diamond, and that the students of the region and Westport are definitely interested in coming to us. So I
So
hope that
you-
answers your question.
Yeah, so you're saying 1480 for fiscal 27? Is that where you're
No,
calling?
Yes.
No, 1480 was for 26. FY
26.
27 is 1508.
So what was it for 25? Does anybody have that information? I can-
Not at my fingertips. I'm sorry for that.
Let me see if I can get that for you. Hold on one second.
Okay, yeah, so I think the other, and this is more of a thought, I think, more than anything else for our committee, is that when we talk about schools and we talk about education, it's really inclusive of Diamond. I know a lot of times we talk about, the schools, and all we're talking about is our own schools. But as far as the budget is concerned, when we wrap that up and show that as far as the total budget, we have to include Diamond, because that's a big piece. That is a big piece of this. And sometimes, we say, well, the schools here in town, we can't fund them to the capacity that we have to, or we should. But I think we all have to keep in mind that it's, this is all one big number when it comes down to education, including Diamond.
Yes. I am just trying to pull up the file. So just bear with me, please.
And for Diamond, we do present to you, that's the minimum contribution. We don't ask anything more than what we absolutely need in order to run the school. That's how we maintain pretty much, in my opinion, fiscal acuity when figuring out a budget.
So I guess while she's looking for the number, one last question I had was, the building is now what I would say, what percentage complete would you say is the building?
I want to put it at approximately 70%.
Okay, so you're looking to bring in students for the fiscal 27 calendar year?
You are correct, yes.
Okay.
As the building will not be done in its entirety for everything, but the building for the shops and the academic classrooms will be completed and will be opened this upcoming school year. The remaining year plus that's left on the project is for our athletic fields and the demolition of the existing building.
So on day one, you'll be able to bring in the full complement of 14, whatever that number is, give or
yeah.
take?
Yes, you are correct, yes.
Okay.
Okay, so I was able to pull up the numbers on the Department of Ed website, and in FY 25, it was 116 students, and FY 24 is 117. But those numbers are also inclusive of the LPN students.
Okay. Is it a lottery system as Voc is, or is it?
Yes, it's a lottery system that's going to be taking place live on March the 16th in our auditorium, and also it'll be live streamed. Yes.
Okay. So does that add the capacity to bring in more students, in your opinion, or? I mean, it limits the amount of students that you probably can take in 1 year with the lottery system, correct?
The lottery will be for the grade 9 applicant students. It is with them. So that's the major number that's coming in. The numbers of the students existing in the building will remain. And for those who want to transfer into the building as grade 10 students, that also will be a lottery type system. But the lottery that's happening on March 16th is going to be for the grade 9 students that are entering our building. Those are the ones we have. We have 877 applications for the entering class.
Yeah, I always consider Diamond a resource for this community, and I think that the more we can be in partnership with the school, I think we can even more enhance our own, our own school system. And not to say that it's not a great school system, because it is, but I think sharing resources, sharing whatever we can, even though you're not in our town, you're still part of the whole package of education. I think in our town.
Mr. Carrero, we may not be in your town, but definitely you are in our town. And so we definitely want you there.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks, Gary. Before we go on, Nancy, I see Nancy Stanton Cross, I see joined our meeting. Nancy, do you have just for our minutes, do you have a time that you joined us? Because I didn't notice when you came in. Just so we can mark ours down.
6:50.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. All right. Al, you have your hand up with a question, so go ahead.
Yeah, just, I remember a couple of years ago at a town meeting, there was an impassioned plea for funding Diamond Vogue. And I'm not opposed to Diamond Vogue. I mean, I think it's great. But one of the things that stuck out was how many people were going to, how many students were going to leave Diamond Vogue, go into a trade. That was the selling point. Do we know how many people actually leave Diamond Vogue and then go into the trade that we're paying for and are, pardon me, and going into? You know, well, you get my point. I don't need to say any more.
Yeah. Yep. Brian, do you have those, any of those
I
figures?
can answer.
Or Leslie, you have them?
I can answer. So when people think directly into a trade, just to clarify, there are all of our career pathways, 18 of them. Some you can go immediately from high school and jump right into education. But if you want to become an electrician or a plumber, mind you, you still go into the workforce, but you're still required to do 2 or 3 additional years of education. And some of our trades do require additional schooling in order to go into. For example, our health services, our medical assistants, they're expected to get associate's degrees in order to get their final licensure. But straight out of the trade, about 58% of our students go directly right to work. Another 27% get additional training, and some go on to 4-year colleges, if that answers your questions, Mr. Lees.
Yeah, I don't need to bore down too quickly, but you know, or too deeply. I just I mean, anecdotally, I know at least 6 Westport cops that went to Diamond Vogue and then never went into the trade that they were going to 4-year school. That's anecdotal. I'm not beating up anybody. I'm just saying that you know, as a taxpayer and you know, town finance committee, we want to make sure that every kid that goes into a vocational school does something with it. Now, if they want to go to college, I mean, 4-year college, great. I've got no problems with any of it. But is that what we're really paying for? That's the essence of my question.
Well, Mr. Lees, if I may, I hear you, and I've heard this before, and I understand your question. I know if a student goes into carpentry and he ends up being a lawyer, wait a minute, we didn't send him to Diamond to be a lawyer. We sent him to Diamond to be a carpenter.
Yep.
But yet at age 14, we're grooming them to be successful in the workplace, whatever that is, and successful community people. So I look at it as, all right, these students who went to Diamond and ended up on the Westport Police Force. And by the way, you're not alone. Swansea, Somerset, and Fall River. Thank goodness. If I go through a red light, someone will recognize my name and let me go. But that part aside, that we recognize them as being vital to the community. No, they didn't go into the trade that they went to. I remember John, who was on the police force there, was a student of mine way back when. He was a machinist, and he became a very successful Westport police officer. But yet he gave back to the community, but he always touted himself as, I'm a proud Diamond graduate. So I understand your question, but Diamond builds more than just carpenters, auto mechanics, auto collision people. They also build the character of someone who's good in the community, can service the community, and we call this transferable skills. Wherever they go, they have learned the skill of communication, they've learned the skill of community, and they've learned the skill of giving back. Do we wish that they would stay in their trade? Sure. But unfortunately, life takes them in another direction upon graduation. I hope that answers your question. I know
that does complete that answers it completely, and I couldn't agree more that, pardon me, when you're 16, 17 years old, what the heck do you know? I mean, I went into college when I was 18. I was going to be the next Jacques Cousteau. I was going to be a marine biologist. And where did I end up? So, I know that things twist around. I'm just looking right now at the pure numbers of dollars that go from a student to Diamond as opposed to into Westport High School, for example. And that's kind of my focus right now. But I'm with you on, life gives you twists and turns.
Sure, it does. And we hope that wherever that student goes, whatever their path may be, that they become very successful in that. And hopefully they thought that they went to Diamond. Yes, I went in there to be a plumber, but look at me today. I am and whatever it is. And I meet those students out in the community when I go out to eat in different places. They're always willing to tell me their story. The other day, a young lady who was in our facilities maintenance shop, she was a waitress in one of our local restaurants, telling me, I'm never going back to school ever again. Well, lo and behold, she's in her second year at Bristol Community College, and she can't wait to complete something in psychology. I told her, hope you get to use it. But this is what happens with our students. And I think you hit it right on the head.
Yep.
You're 16, 17 years old. You're not sure. But I
You're
do
not
agree
sure.
with I do agree with your philosophical statement. That is, if we're paying X amount of dollars for a student to go to Diamond, Westport wishes that they would stay in that trade or could put something out there in that trade. I understand that. We look at it a little differently because we want them to be successful.
Thank you. Good explanation. Thank you.
Cindy, go ahead. You've got your hand up.
Could you tell me a little bit about how your programs have evolved over time, and particularly with the anticipation of, a larger building giving you more flexibility to perhaps expand a little bit on some of the trades that you already have, or include some new types of trades that perhaps were not you weren't physically able to address in the past. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Actually, Ms. Brown, what I'll do is that the one with the newest set of eyes in our building who has made an impact is our current assistant superintendent principal, Leslie Weckesser, and she's on. So I'd like her to respond to that because she
Great.
comes from another vocational school and she knows what was there, but she is seeing what's at our school. Leslie, if you would.
Yes, so Cindy, under our current MSBA agreement, we cannot start any new Chapter 74 programs until completion of the project. But what we have done is we have aligned all of our vocational programs to what we call the labor market analysis, which basically gives the blueprint for the state of Massachusetts and projections over the next 10 years. I've set some eyes on some areas of growth or expansion between, we have for example, we have our web, I went blank, programming and web development, but yet ISSN networking and cybersecurity are a hot and demand trade, and is going to be, as you know, you get notifications of internet hacks all the time. So that's a great opportunity for us to expand. We also too have seen a huge increase in the amount of students that are required plumbing, electrical, and HVAC, especially as we switch to the new types of energies. So our teachers are very involved in increased professional development in these particular areas. A lot of them are required for their own licensure to go out and seek additional learning to make sure that they're current in their trades. So those are some of the ways where our physical space has really tightened us on the amount of things that we can do inside our school currently that we'll be able to expand on. And we continue to work out in the community and look for these opportunities of being able to expand and do things beyond the school's walls, which I know we've been very active in Westport with the amount of community work that we've done. That's one note that I did write down is I maybe think that I should give Mr. Jennings just some updates too to send to the town of Westport, just so that you see how active we are in your community. She might not know all the work that our Diamond students are doing. It
Well,
goes back.
people were very passionate at town meeting when we had the debt exclusion for the construction, and people were very passionate and very much in favor of supporting continuing to support the community. The parents and many of the former students turned out to make sure that they showed their continued support. So thank you for your answer.
No problem.
Thanks, Cindy. Hugh, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to say that I'm not so sure the divergence to police officers is that bad a thing. Because once in Diamond, they're focusing, in my view, blue collar work rather than crucifix or things that seem attractive but aren't really all that vocational, shall we say. So police are hands-on, working with the world, and that's a different version of plumber electrician, if you will. But I think it's still a valuable route into a valuable area. I'm not objecting to what was said previously, just saying I think it is better than it looks like as a distinction being made.
Thank you, Hugh. Does anyone, any other questions or comments for our Diamond folks?
Only that I just think they're doing a great job. You know, all in all, I mean, are there warts? Yeah. Are there warts in Westport, Dartmouth? Go down the list, of course. But all in all, once the Westport, for example, got rid of the local vocational programs, the future farmers, the mechanics, the shop program, that gap had to be filled, and it's been filled consistently for a number of years. Pardon me, with Diamond Voc, and so, you know, these are questions, and unfortunately, they can be tough questions from a finance committee. You know, I will admit that, but I think that you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Louise.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I don't see any other questions or comments. Does anyone from Diamond have anything else that they'd like to share with us as part of their presentation or highlight anything, or did we hit on the key topics?
Oh, I think you hit the key topics.
Okay.
Most
And
definitely.
I do invite everyone to we are going to be having a ribbon cutting open house, and hopefully that you can all make it to see what the new Diamond and the new future will be of vocational education in this area, and Westport being part of it.
Karen, can I just ask one thing
Yeah, sure.
before we sign off with Diamond? Is that I think we should have this conversation every single year. I think that it's something that is important.
Yeah.
You know, them being our regional school, and also if in fact they can put some kind of presentation going forward that shows trends, that shows you know, enrollment, things that we've asked for tonight, that could be just put in like a 5-minute slide presentation, so that it's on TV, that people can see it. Town meeting members, if they had questions, can ask when they go to town meeting. I think it's just helpful to have it.
Yep.
I already
Great.
wrote it down, Gary.
Thank you.
Yep, I'm making a note of that myself.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you very much.
And,
Al,
and
go ahead.
yeah, I just want to tee off on what Gary just said. I think we should also include a presentation for Bristol Aggie, because we do support Bristol Aggie directly or indirectly. So it wouldn't be a bad idea, whether it's every year, every 2 years, whatever it might be, to have them come in as well.
All right, well,
Sounds good.
yeah, sounds good. Well, I'd like to thank everyone from Diamond to come here. Again, it was helpful to have it as a virtual presentation tonight. And we all support what Diamond does, and so we appreciate you're offering that service to our Westport students. So thank you again for coming in, and
Thank
have a safe commute home.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Good
Thank
night.
you.
Thank you
Thank you.
very
Good night.
much. All right, so back to our budget presentation. So we have the beach committee was on the list, and Sean Leach is still here. So if Sean wants to say hello, I think we can talk about the beach, which I am very happy to talk about the beach. All I want to do is talk about the beach.
I think everybody that the only thought on their mind is the beach right now. That's the only thing that's it.
That's it, just the beach.
Okay. So the beach committee, we voted on a budget. I don't know if you want me to share my screen or you have it there in front of you.
That'd be
or-
great if you could share it, Sean. That'd be helpful.
Okay, so let me.
And pictures would be good too.
Nice, warm, fuzzy pictures about.
Yeah, lifeguards running down the beach, Sean. I mean, enough of the snow.
It's not letting me share my screen.
We may have to give you permission. You should be able to,
Okay, here we go.
because our diamond folks did.
It's a little.
There we go.
I apologize for being late. I kept typing in an I where there's a J. and-
Oh, no worries. Well, we
Oh.
were trying to honor you first up, and then you weren't here, so we didn't want to stare at each other for forever. So thanks for hanging out.
Okay, so we have at the beach, we have an unenviable position of where we work a calendar year for budget wise actually, as opposed to the typical budget year. In other words, our calendar year where we take in our revenue begins January 1st, ends December 30th. Unlike the other thing. So what you see here, and I don't know if I can zoom in a little bit, is the budget that was voted on by the committee for the past year.
There you go. That's better.
Okay, there we go. Okay, and it included the following item. I'll slide it over. Basically, salaries, overtime incentive at $101,100. Expenses, and there's a lot of expenses, and I'll explain the vehicle repair and maintenance expense. But basically coming down, uniforms, gasoline, oil, that type of thing, coming down to $60,750 for a request of $161,850, which of course is going to be coming out of our enterprise fund. That was what we bumped it up since then to increase a couple of the line items. And one of them was the biggest one basically was the vehicle repair and maintenance. I'll explain that. We were looking at purchasing a new vehicle through the capital improvement. And then we found out the highway department cemetery department has a vehicle that's not being used and is sitting back there, but it needs work. It's only got 69,000 miles on it. So we thought in the best interest, we would take that vehicle and just repair it. So that's why you see a $5,000 vehicle maintenance repair thing. And rather than spending $50,000 on a truck, you think that was a better way of doing it, basically. Some of the other items that stand out, the $25,000 that you see here, is for professional services. That includes the dumpster, the porta-johns, and also includes what we're trying to fix now is a $12,000 fee to the Audubon Society for monitoring the birds on the beach, which we feel is unreasonable, so we're working on that. But anyway, the request is for $166,050, and there's some items here that I want to point out that are not included in our budget that we're still paying for. These items are the departments that work directly and can take out of the enterprise fund, town clerk, accountant, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Last year's was a total of $11,499. That doesn't show up on our budget, but we still pay this fee. And it's going to increase next year. So we're looking at, basically a total ticket price here of about $191,000. Our revenue for the past, I'm gonna call it calendar year, because our biggest revenue comes between January 1st and July 1st. Last year, fiscal year 25, that figure was $148,379. After July 1st, the sticker fees came in at $18,695 for a total of $166,974. And I will tell you that it doesn't take any mathematician to realize that when you bring in about 167 and we're spending 191, we've got a problem. So this year we raised the sticker fees for seniors $10 and raised the regular fee $5, which if we sell the same number of stickers as last year would make up the shortfall, I guess we're calling it, between the 191 and the 169 we're requesting. Right now, that last year was the first year that we sold more senior passes than regular passes. About 53% of the passes we sell now are senior passes. And I think that's because I bought one and I'm a senior now. So that's the jump there. So we're looking at hopefully towing the line. We do have several $100,000 in our enterprise fund to do things, and we've been using it kind of very conservatively. We used it in the past. We put up a new fence. We put up new lights. We bought a section of beach, which was a bargain for about $10,000. We picked up 100 feet of beach. And this year we're looking at security cameras that need to be replaced down there. I've been working with Louis Pretence at the police department to get a price as to what we're going to need to replace that. So in the long run, we're going to be breaking even. We're keeping our head above water, hopefully, depending on what the revenue is this year. But we're in the near future, I foresee that the expenses will outpace the revenues, unless this is a severe jump. To give you an idea, during the pandemic, we were selling 4,400 beach passes. Prior to the pandemic, we were selling 2,700 passes. Right, last year we were in the 3,900 range. So we're predicting that 3,900 seems to be a good figure for what we're expecting for next year's passes. Again, it's hard to judge the revenue. Last year we had an extremely hot summer, so we had a lot of passes that came in kind of late. This year, if we have anything that goes like we're having right now, we might not sell any beach passes. So it's kind of a hit and miss situation, but we're kind of monitoring it. But right now, we're expecting to at least cover the cost for this year.
Sean, I got a question for you on that. So I know we hear in every department, right, that expenses are outpacing the revenue, but your committee has the ability to raise the revenue to be able to offset that. So I'm just curious, why did you not raise the beach fees a little more to make sure you're covered?
There's two reasons. One is everybody gets upset when we raise it a little bit. That's one. But I think when we found out, when we first took the first big jump, and I think it was 4 years ago, we took the first big jump, we saw a decrease in beach passes. And that was because we thought, and we don't know, we don't have this informal information, where somebody may have 2 beach passes at the household, they only bought one. They said, mom and dad only need one for the car. They're not supposed to be there at the same time. So why don't we just take one car to the beach? We also think that there was a lot more sharing, basically, of beach pass cars, so to speak. But I also think that, raising the revenue, we're going to get to a point of no return where if let's say we raised it to, we charge $200,000 for beach pass. We sell one beach pass, could be covered for the year, but that doesn't mean anybody be using the beach. What we're trying to do is make it a family-friendly beach that's affordable. We don't offer a lot of services. We offer lifeguards 7 days between second Saturday, in June to Labor Day. And we offer the porta johns and basically a dumpster for trash. But not much more than that. I think our biggest problem is the cost of lifeguards goes up and significantly. That seems to be the one cost that we can't really control.
Yeah.
I would like to say, yeah, can we raise it everybody $25? And I think we would see a drop off significantly in the number of passes being sold. My wife just from the other room said, yeah, she wouldn't buy hers. So, we're trying to keep it so we're at least we get a little bit, I don't want to say profit, but a little bit above the expenses every year. And we don't want to turn it into every year we raise it $10, every year $5 too. Maybe we get to a point where we do raise it significantly. We are probably the best bargain in town by far when it comes to the value here, the cost and the value. And we're significantly lower than most other beaches in the area. For year round, but they don't differentiate. They also have non-resident passes at a lot of those beaches too. So I think that isn't even an option. We don't think a non-resident pass is a good idea in any way, shape, or form because we don't have enough parking for the residents. So it's a good question, and I don't know what the breaking point would be on the amount you could charge where you start losing revenue.
Yeah, and I don't know that answer either. And I think it's, you got to play with the sensitivity a little bit. In some cases, it might not be the end of the world if a couple of passes aren't renewed, because then that helps solve some of the parking issues, right? So not that you want to price somebody out from using the service. I don't mean that at all, but I think it seems like you want to be able to make sure you're generating enough revenue to pay the lifeguards their fair fee. And we all know that the cost of lifeguards continue to go up. And so I think it's explanatory that the price goes up.
Yeah.
I get it. It's a tough juggle. So I get that.
One of the things we're exploring is the $50 fine for parking illegally at the beach, or on the road, doesn't deter anybody anymore. People are more than happy to pay $50 because to go to Horseneck Beach on July 4th weekend, an out-of-state plate would have to pay $45 to go to Horseneck Beach. So for $5 more, they can pull in the Cherry and Webb and not have to worry about it. And it's much better beach. So we're working with the police department. We've had meetings with Chris Dunn. We had meetings with the new town administrator on increasing the fees and taking a portion of that revenue as part of our stuff. If we raised it to $200, do we take $50 of that and put it into the beach committee or whatever? We're exploring that. That's just another possible means of revenue.
Great. Thank you, Sean. Hugh's got his hand up, so go ahead, Hugh.
A couple of thoughts. One is, have you, just for analytical purposes, I don't mean for rigid accounting, more permanent, long-term, let's say, non-recurring expenses versus recurring. For instance, you bought a parcel of land for $10,000. That's fine. I have no objection to it. I'm just saying that probably doesn't happen every year. And just for analytical purposes, rather than really for budgeting, see how it works out over time. Obviously, the longer life stuff is once you got it, you've got it. And the other thing was, as far as non-resident or whatever, what do you do for beach passes for summer people who are not landowners?
Okay, so the eligibility for beach passes are town resident. You can be a renter, a leaser, or homeowner, and or taxpayer. So you can be a non-resident taxpayer. You can own a summer cottage. You're paying taxes on something in Westport. You're eligible for a beach pass.
So just plain renter without an ownership interest, you're not eligible?
No, if you're a renter and you have, you show up on the census and your car says Westport, Massachusetts on its registration, and your license says Westport, Massachusetts,
Yeah.
you're allowed to get a beach pass.
Yeah, but I'm saying if that's not the case, because if you are a temporary summer resident, you don't have registration here. It's just for your home of winter residence, shall we say, Fall River, Dedham, whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering whether there could be a class in that case, resident, non-resident, if you will, at a somewhat higher price, with the theory that that's likely to be a more prosperous group.
We have explored that and had several discussions over years regarding that. And what it boils down to is number of beach passes per as against number of parking spaces.
Yeah.
And the ability of how do you monitor someone who's temporary? We did have some situations where people were visiting ministers, that type of thing, here for 4 or 5 months, and they want to get a beach pass, but they don't really rent, they don't really lease, and their license says Connecticut or something like that. And the question is, where do you draw the line of non-resident resident? And we've been pretty good about towing the line about taxpayer or resident.
Yeah, so using that example, that would seem clearly to be non-resident, therefore ineligible. So I'm trying to second guess what you're doing. I'm just saying that if it is you have an ownership interest, that's fine. You've got a registration or whatever. If you don't, you don't. Other than that, you're talking about as a dip in the number of passes, which is the same should mean a lack of pressure, lesser pressure on parking spaces. So it's a higher price for the out of town or semi out of town, let's say, reduces that usage. Maybe that's positive, not negative.
Right. I mean, I guess we could explore again. I think the major component here is the town clerk issues beach passes. As you do it online, you go online, you get your beach pass, you put your information in, he sees that you're a resident, boom, you get kicked out in 2 days. You already got your pass in the mail. The question comes into, everybody says I'm renting, Drift Road from May to September this year, and then next year somebody else is renting, and the next year someone else is renting. And how do you monitor, if they're actually renting? 'Cause one of the things we ask for, and we try to give as many beach passes to many people as we can. One of the things we ask for is just proof. Have a landlord, have whoever you're renting it from come to us with an agreement that says you are renting from May to September. This is what you're doing, and we'll consider it. Well, our concern is, now I want my brother-in-law who's going to come visit us in July 4th weekend, and then he's from Idaho, and then, the sister-in-law, and we want a beach pass. And that's where it becomes, okay, we're running out of spaces, because last year we had some problems because of the way the weather was last year. It was very warm. 4th of July weekend was spectacular. And it was just, there weren't enough parking spaces. Basically Cherry Webb Lane was just clogged with cars, parked illegally and legally. And it becomes a small problem for the police department and or if any emergency services are needed. Trish Boatyard bears a brunt of a lot of that too. So, yeah.
I'm sure these aren't revelations for you. You thought about it. I'm just saying, if there's some way to monitor that or to protect the full-time Westport residents and get a little more revenue out of the more temporary people, shall we say, that would be a positive.
Yeah. I don't disagree. I think one of the things we did see, because senior citizen passes have gone up, senior citizens tend to not stay at the beach all day. Like to walk the beach in the morning or in the evening or for a couple hours. So there's a big benefit to senior citizen passes. they may have the family there one weekend this summer or something like that. But we find that mostly, it's more transient during the day. They don't stay for 6 hours like a family of four would. But I think it's not a bad idea to try to raise revenue, because I don't want to turn this into every year we raise a $5. I don't want to turn this into the state of Massachusetts and raise taxes every year. I want it, people were upset this year because we raised, but I think with the big jump, I mean, you can see fiscal year 23, 45,000. And then you look at what we're asking for this year, 90,000. That was only 5 years ago.
Yeah.
You pay the lifeguards. That's double in cost. That's our biggest problem here. We had,
I don't know offhand what Baker's charges. I know Elvin Rock is 500.
Yeah.
Both of which is a bargain, and I don't mean they're the same in any lots of different ways. But just if you look at the rest of the landscape, you may find that you're with both best intentions underneath the market on a realistic basis.
yeah, I think, Elvin Rock has obviously the pavilion and other things to offer too. And it's severely limited. We are a public beach for public facility. And I believe, that one of the things about owning land or property in Westport gives you the ability to have is go to this beach. And I always like it when I see people using the beach. It's been used very frequently in the last couple of years. It's been something that everybody loves recreation wise. And I don't want to turn it, some people have asked, I don't want to turn it into a private beach club where only some people can afford to do it and other people can't.
I agree. I'm just saying, not that necessarily it's a model, but it simply gives you an idea, what people were paying or willing to pay. Remember, the dollar isn't worth what it used to be.
No, that's what I mean about the $50 fine for parking illegally. I've stood there when police officers go up to people getting out of their car and unloading, and they ask, how much is the ticket? $50. I said, oh, okay, all good for all day. Yep. So, they don't care. And what happens is I'll get the phone call from the person who didn't get the call, and didn't get the parking place, and wants to know why this person from New York parked there without a sticker, but they got a ticket on their car. But why don't we tow it? Because that would be a deterrent. I think if the police don't want to tow it, I think raising it $200, getting a chunk of that for the revenue,
Just for the living. My lights are blinking, so I may disappear at any minute.
Yeah, mine are too.
Yeah, mine are flicker. I haven't lost power, but I can't get out of my driveway either.
Right.
Our plow guy lost the brakes on his plow, and we've got 3 feet of snow in the laneway, and we're not going anywhere anytime soon.
I'm in the same boat. I think a lot of people are in the same boat, that the equipment is broken down.
Yeah.
Yep. Go ahead, Cindy. You've got a question, and then Al.
Yeah, so piggybacking off of what you mentioned earlier, Sean, about speaking with the select board about increased fees for parking and perhaps more aggressive towing. On that same vein, I mean, the number one complaint that people always have is that there's never enough parking there, and we get that. And, your resources are limited as to how much you could certainly expand the parking. So if you can't expand the parking, why can't there be a much more vigilant way to keep people from parking illegally, particularly on the weekends? So why can't you have someone stationed at Cherry and Webb, whether it be a police officer or, just someone at the gate, so to speak, saying, where's your sticker? Oh, you don't have one? I'm sorry, you cannot park here. I mean, to pay someone on Saturday and Sunday to do that, to allow more people to attend, I think would certainly be a step in the right direction. I know that costs money too, but do you see, I mean, I'm sure your committee has talked about that. I mean, what's the pros and cons to that?
Okay, so we've talked about that. We've actually discussed with the Disabilities Committee having a parking lot attendant. was also a little way of getting handicapped people to the beach. And
Right.
one guy or girl, performed the task of sitting there and monitoring what comes in. The bigger problem is in this world of entitlement and other people, if you ask a 20-year-old kid to yell at some guy getting out of an SUV that you can't park here, you don't have a beach pass, it's going to get ugly quickly. And the fear is something bad will happen.
Hmm.
It's just the world we live in, unfortunately. Because I've sat there and I've said, yeah, you don't have a parking pass. And the first thing out of somebody's mouth is, well, who made you king?
Right.
Who the hell are you? You know, and, you know, it's like they don't care because once they're in the spot, it's parked. You can yell at them, you can throw things at them, they won't move.
Right.
Add to your expenses, Sean, a gentleman in blue standing there might deter inappropriate behavior. It could cost some money, but you might make it up in the parking tickets.
Yeah, I mean, because we used to deputize, you know, people to go down and write tickets. The police department, you know, they do God's work down between East Beach, Beach Avenue, and here, Cherry and Webb. They're monitoring all the time, but they can't be there 24/7.
No, I
Right.
understand.
Yeah, and they do the best they can, but people just ignore the police now. And the
Seems to me
question
a couple of years ago, there was a guy who wrote tickets as a volunteer.
Yeah.
I think he survived.
Yeah, well, that was Tim St. Michel, but then Keith Pelletier. It was getting pretty ugly on East Beach. People were getting very belligerent about that, and you know, it just gets ugly real quick. It spirals ugly real quick. I know that, and the fear is something's going to happen to somebody. Yeah.
Sean, I know that you've never been in a bar room, but I have, and the bars have figured out pretty quickly how to get bouncers, and so maybe that would be something. The other thing too, and I would like to advocate for the elderly people, and I'm including my mother in this. She and her friend would go get a cup of coffee, drive down to East Beach, and just sit there for 15 minutes or so. And no, this is not a revenue stream. It's probably just the opposite. But is there a way of thinking about those people that just want to sit there for 15 or 20 minutes and not have a $50 or $75 sticker?
I can honestly say that if you do that any weekend but 4th of July weekend, you're probably going to be okay. Because
If you stay in the car, they generally will not ticket
No,
you
we
if
have
you are
never
in the car.
exactly. We have never had a problem with the cops or anybody else, but it's still that line of legal, illegal. So I'm just tossing that out for, you know, for the beach committee to just consider something like that for the future. That's all.
yeah, I mean, East Beach is it's kind of a different animal. There's a lot of people who park there, I'll call it illegally. They don't have a beach pass, but we know what they're doing. It's 95 degrees in Fall River. They picked up a pizza up at the Village Pizza, and they're sitting there watching seagulls fly by and boats go in the canal, and
Right.
not for an hour or so, or a couple of fishermen, you know, sitting on the back of a tailgate truck, just throwing the line in the water. I don't have anybody who's enjoying the beach. I don't have a problem with that. You can tell who they are. It's more or less the people that when you see, you know, 10 sports cars and 5 motorcycles, and they're racing up down the street,
Mm-hmm.
then we have a problem. You know, and I don't know how you solve that particular thing. 'Cause again, I don't mind people pulling in. There are a lot of handicapped people who don't get beach passes because, excuse me, it's pretty inaccessible. Charing Webb is inaccessible.
Right.
But they will go. I talked to one gentleman who was in the Vietnam War. He was, you know, quadriplegic, and you know, his wife brings him there, and he gets out of the van and they sit there. They put a little mat out, and he sits there in the wheelchair and looks out in the ocean. Doesn't have a beach pass because he feels he shouldn't have to pay for one because there's no handicap spots there.
Mm-hmm.
No handicap access. He's a Westport resident, and I said, well, we got to do something about that because that's a perfect example of somebody who should get a beach pass and say, you know, I can sit here and I have a handicap spot, you know, there's a lot of that. I mean, East Beach is one of the few beaches you can just pull right in and look out at the ocean.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just, you know, enjoying the view and listen to the radio, whatever you do.
So there might be some connection through the Veterans Office. Some kind of sticker or placard for a disabled veteran in that case.
Well, we're working with the Disabilities Committee. Martin, in fact, I talked to Martin the other day. And one of the things we're looking at is a shuttle type thing to get people out onto Cherry and Webb, because Martin walked out there last year. He struggled. He can walk, but and he forgot how beautiful it was. But also because of East Beach, it's basically handicap accessible because you can pull in and get out of your van, but you have to have the room to do it. And on a busy weekend, there's no room between cars to pull a handicap van in. And it's hard to mark or have a handicap spot. You have to have hard ground. You can't have cobble.
Right.
And we were thinking about issuing placards for people, you know, not just veterans, but people who, you know, they're town residents and they're handicapped and they have a right or a reason to go to the beach.
Yeah, I was using veterans only because there is a veterans officer.
Yeah.
But yes, you're right. That didn't mean it restricted in general. I guess that was.
I mean, I would have no problem giving away, you know, because the amount of people we give away passes to people who have caregivers. If you remember Selena Howard, she was blind. She had a caregiver who used to take her out to the beach. We would give passes to the caregiver so she could go to the beach. And we do that all the time. You know, we have maybe half a dozen people who have caregivers that bring them to the beach and they just want to go to the beach and they can't drive. Because at some point, a lot of people lose their ability to have a driver's license.
Yeah, like my mother. I said, you wouldn't want her to drive to the beach.
Well, that's some of it.
So I'm sure you've been talking about all the stuff that you've already thought of a lot of it, but so I appreciate your patience.
Oh, no problem. I apologize for being late. I just had a problem with the meeting code for some stupid reason. So I apologize. I'm being late, but I think we're going to run into, you know, the bottom line is as costs escalate, and we're going to do something about the Audubon cost, but as costs escalate, you know, it's going to come to a point where you cut services, and the only services we have is lifeguards.
Yeah.
We had a great year last year. We didn't have no deaths, a couple of injuries, broken leg, a couple other things, but we have a very good headed lifeguard and a very good crew. They seem to be doing very well. We do get complaints occasionally, but we're talking 20-year-old kids also. But I think, you know, we're doing the best we can, but every once in a while, you know, the costs just escalate. The state has already upped the ante. Steve Willett sent me a text message about a week ago about the state upping the ante with incentives and other things, which we can't really match.
Sean, I've got one quick question for you.
Yep.
Remember you came in last year, and I don't remember now if it was a reserve transfer, a reserve request, or a transfer, because it had come to us after town meeting that you had some expenses that you hadn't collected your new revenues yet.
That was an unanticipated. That was the Audubon. It was $12,000. We came for 13 change. I can't remember the exact figure.
Yeah.
But there was a $12,000 hit that we took that we had to pay up front last year. Typically it hit us. Again, we're a calendar year thing, so they wanted the money up front rather than billing us after the fact. So we had a $12,000 hit, which we've built in now. You know, we didn't expect that. We expected it to be on this year's budget. So now it was 13,000, and I don't know the exact number, but it was a transfer out of the health. I think it's the health
and is that something that then the town gets reimbursed for? Are you putting it in the new budget to reimburse the town for last year, or is the town not getting reimbursed for it? Because it was kind of a cash advance almost.
Well, we did not put it in to reimburse the town. We put it in to pay for what will be, we'll get a bill in the next month or so from Audubon for $12,000 for service. Typically, they billed us after they did it, so it was in the next fiscal year. Like they would bill us in September, so it would be in the next fiscal year after July 1st. Last year, they hit us twice, in July and then in January, on
Yeah.
the same fiscal year. And we were caught
So
off
there's
guard.
there's nothing to reimburse the town for last year's that, right, okay.
No, and we're going out because it's over $10,000. We're going out to bid now to a couple other people to monitor, because at $12,000 for a 12-week season, not even that birds, that's $1,000 a week it's costing us, and that seems a little high to me, considering that they never nest on Beach Avenue. They only nest at Cherry and Webb, so there isn't a lot of legwork or anything. We just feel like it's a little expensive. We're required to do it, but
All right, that answers that.
All right, well, anything else for Sean? Then we can let him be free. Not that you're going anywhere, but you can be
No.
free.
just eating dinner. That's all.
Well, Sean, thanks for coming in. We appreciate your
No, thank
coming
you.
in.
Sorry about being late. I
Oh,
thought
no,
it
it's
might be
okay.
canceled tonight.
We had you slated for first, but glad you got to stay. So thank you.
Okay.
All right, have a good night.
You too. Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Bye.
Thank you, Sean.
All right. Okay, so the next items we have on the agenda are our standing fiscal 27 budget and town meeting warrant. The select board was scheduled to review and approve the budget on Monday, but due to the closing of town hall, they're going to be meeting on Thursday to approve that. So we don't have an approved budget yet, but the town administrator did forward to us the final draft, kind of putting all the things we had talked about last week in numbers. So now we have access to it. So if anybody had any questions, we've got what we have there. Did anyone have any questions? Or Chris, did you need to highlight anything that as you crunch through the numbers, did anything else different pop up for you that you need to highlight to us?
Yes, good evening. No, I mean, just, I guess, reiterating our conversations. So, as we talked about, with the revenue assumption adjustments, certain allotment went to the school to help close the gap that was there. On the town side, what is being proposed and discussed for Thursday is the addition of one full-time police officer. Just because of the recruitment time frame, the salary that's in there is not for the full year. So you won't see, I guess, the full impact of that on the police line until we get to the FY28 budget. But that has been put in there. The other thing that I would say, as terms of a noted change, is there is a separate, let me see what I have it called. I apologize. Did not have it directly up in front of me right now. Just want to make sure I use the right language. So there is a secondary line for personnel cost. I think kind of piggybacking on some of the discussion from last week, I know we had talked about the capital stabilization article, and we also, there was discussion with regards to, upcoming retirements, upcoming contract renegotiations for non-union personnel, as well as, other expected assumptions as we go into future fiscal years with regards to, staffing costs. So that line item is there within the budget to allow the town to have those funds that we anticipate will be needed. So for personnel expenditures going forward. So I think those are really the two highlights, as well as the revenue updates from the previous draft, which was sent over to the group, but happy to answer any questions on that. Like I said, the board was planning to approve this on Monday, but best laid plans. So they'll be meeting on Thursday evening. So assuming that there are no changes made at that meeting, this will be likely the numbers that you're working with going forward.
Terrific. Are you doing an in-person meeting Thursday? Or you think you're ready for it?
Yes, so I am. So offices are going to be closed tomorrow. I made the call about an hour ago, but now that we're in a little bit of a better place with our main roads,
Yep.
I am very confident that we can get open for Thursday and have that in-person meeting.
Perfect. Perfect. Good. Well, and thank you for putting it in the format that I usually transfer all the detail into that summary. So I appreciate your doing that. That was helpful for me. So thank you. I like to see it in kind of a traditional, little bit of a P&L format to really look at revenues first and expenses. So thank you. Thank you for putting that in that format. That's helpful.
You're welcome. I hope I did the right thing.
Yeah, no, you did great. I think you
All
did
right,
great.
good.
And then you've got the free cash tab that you loaded up. So thank you for that. So all the information's here, and we'll just we'll see where we go. We'll see where we get it final. Does anyone have any questions for Chris on this at all? No. Okay. And I just I had asked Chris this question through an email earlier, so I just want to just highlight. So in this fiscal budget, in one of the line items, there's $150,000 for the old high school expenses.
That's correct.
But the high school expenses are in excess of that, but there is still some warrant articles with some dollars that are still available to fund the difference. So the total costs of the old high school are not just 150,000 that's in the budget. So it is being supplemented by some older warrant articles that were funded with some balances remaining.
That's correct. We haven't, at least in the last fiscal year, really need to tap into those two articles. So what we have budgeted, largely has satisfied it. However, year over year, it has fluctuated a little bit. So, I'll monitor that, but I do anticipate for the FY27 budget that we would exceed anything from what we have budgeted, as well as those outstanding articles. We should be perfectly fine.
Great. That was really my only question that I'd had. I just wanted to just raise that to everyone so you got to hear it too. So if you looked at the number and saw that.
Karen, Gary has his hand up.
Oh, go ahead, Gary. Sorry.
Yeah, I just on the lines of the high school there for the 150,000. As the committee, I guess it's the long-term building committee. Have they come up with any solution or any kind of where are we with it? With that building, is that gonna has there been a decision on the building, or has there been?
So, Christopher's here. I know he's not necessarily wearing that hat this evening. However, at least from the select board side, I know that Mr. Thrasher provided the presentation. There was that presentation a couple weeks ago where they went over the proposed options. I know the board hasn't really been able to meet to, discuss the presentation or the findings to talk about potential next steps just because of the storm here. But that's really where it's at from my seat. I don't know if.
So I guess the next step. So the next step in the process is to discuss the options. I guess that's where we are.
Yeah, I think it was left at that public meeting that I was going to go back to the board to just determine next steps. But Christopher, I just saw turn his camera. I don't know if he has anything else to add there.
Yeah, so Gary, I'll be real frank with you. that committee ground to a halt to the point where we were really having trouble getting quorum. I do think there were members that were very dedicated in trying to come up with something, but unfortunately, ultimately, it was clear in our last meeting before that presentation that there was not going to be a recommendation that was going to be had. And I, in fact, mentioned it during the public meeting and also to select board members. I mean, I recommend that committee be dissolved and that it needs to get back to the select board to try and move this forward, because right now it's unfortunately pretty stuck in the mud.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason I'm bringing it up is because, this is going on a number of years now. And I think everybody sitting in this room, maybe not Chris, obviously, but everybody, here knows that, people are wondering what's going on, and the residents are wondering what's going on. I'm hearing it from residents. What are we doing with the school? It seems like we keep on putting more money into that school as far as the costs are concerned. And, they have a valid question. They want to have answers on what's going on with that building. And I think I would hope that if the committee reestablishes itself or can come up to some ground rules that say, listen, we're going to present this to the select board. Here are our opinions one way or another, and get this thing moving. We're talking about, 5 years now, how long it's been. It seems like we're just throwing money out the window. And I've been on this since I've been on this committee. When we built the new school, we've got to do something with that property. We've got to. And it's okay if we decide not to do anything with that property. But I think the residents want to know, what are we doing with that property? And I think, again, we're back in limbo again. And I think it's
right there. I'm right there.
And I know the committee's done a lot of work, and it was a lot. And sometimes when these committees and these offshoots of committees develop, people don't have interest in it, and it just fizzles out. But I think we need to maybe look at this again. It's important. It's a big piece of. That's a big piece of land. That's a big building.
So, Gary, I just wanted to say the one thing that I was pleased, at least that came out of all of the last year or so, was there is a pretty comprehensive study. It has some pretty it does show some costs associated with reuse strategies. It also went over the costs associated with with other town buildings. So there's some good hard data and some good options that have been created from the study. I do think at this point it needs to go back to the select board, because again, and unfortunately, it was very clear that with the makeup of the committee of those who were coming to meetings, it definitely there was not going to be a consensus reached. So it needs to go back to the select board, but hopefully they can take the outcome and the details of this study and try to put something going forward, because I share the frustration of many in town that this is still going on for sure. So here's hoping you can get moving sooner rather than later.
Thanks, Chris.
Karen, you're on mute.
I'm muted. Thanks. If no one else has anything else on the budget at this time, Chris, thanks so much for jumping in and taking hold of a very difficult budget, done half by the previous administrator, but jumping in and understanding all the facets to it very quickly. So you've done a terrific job so far. So thank you.
Thanks, Karen, I appreciate it.
One quick question for Chris. Is the warrant will be closed also on Thursday?
That's correct. Yes. So we have a pretty good picture of how many articles are going to be on the warrant. Now the language has to get sent off to council. So some of the article language may change between the second draft that's going to be talked about on Thursday and the final draft. But at this point, there's going to be no new articles that would be added.
Right. Is the planning board removing the scenic byways request? I believe they
Yes.
are, right? Yeah.
So they have removed that. Yeah. So
Okay.
we had it in there as a placeholder, and we didn't have the final language because they still had to have the hearing on it. So I will note that how the zoning bylaw changes are coming in. there is individual articles. So the initial number, we had a placeholder for one article change on the zoning side, but rather than having it be an omnibus, they have it broken up into a few. So I think I think it's coming in as 6 separate articles, individual zoning amendment articles.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great, thank you. All right, if nothing else on, we'll wrap up that agenda item. Thank you. Let's see, so our next item is if there's any committee or liaison updates from our last meeting. Probably not, since we met last Thursday. We're meeting so frequently that we don't have those so many updates.
Karen,
Yes.
can I just add something? So,
Yeah.
today I don't know if we call it lucky enough, but I was waiting for this opportunity for a long time to go around town with one of the plow drivers, and I had asked that and
boy.
requested from and I didn't realize the next storm was going to be a blizzard. So, I took that opportunity and you don't appreciate, I guess, what really goes on during a storm, especially a storm of this magnitude. And I would say that to hats off to this entire group of people that run that department, along with police, fire, and everyone that came together, in this storm. The number of roads that it's incredible. We went up and down Reed. We went up through Charlotte White. We went down Drift. And that loop alone took almost an hour and 10 minutes. And this is already like the fourth pass that they've made. And the roads are in incredible shape for what we went through, and this is when, so we look at these capital items that we approve. And I think really to get the appreciation is to really look at this group of individuals that do this work. They're looking at a salt shed back there. If you go down there, you'll see this, the places, these buildings are falling apart, just to be frank. But maybe we can look at a salt shed, buy that salt when it's off season, things that we can plan ahead. But they're going to need that new truck coming, and I'm glad Chris put that in there. And this is, just hats off to them for getting us through the storm. I mean, there's stories all to be said for what went on, and them pulling police cars out and pulling all these emergency vehicles out. So they did an unbelievable job. Unbelievable.
Well, good for you for picking the blizzard to do that.
Yep. The next storm was the blizzard. So, and hats off to Chris for, administering all this through this. Obviously he's only been here a couple of months, but he it's a blizzard. I mean, I guess it's baptism by fire, like they say, right? But I think they all came together and did a tremendous job.
Great. How long were you plowing?
We were out there for about an hour and a half. It's the issue is pushing the snow back enough that it's already so high on the sides of the road. They you can only go so far with a plow that's a 3-foot width plow. You can't keep pushing snow on top because it just comes back into the road. So, but all the main roads, and Chris can probably talk about this a little more. I think they're pretty much they're really in good shape. They are in good shape. They did an unbelievable job.
Yeah. I got to drive around. I was out with the fire chief for about 3 hours today, and I did a full drive through the town of all the main roads, looked down the side roads. They did a really good job. I mean, I went over to the highway department when they were on one of their breaks, and really hats off to all of them. I mean, so in terms of the roadways themselves, I think one of the things that's difficult is, they do that first pass, but then, there's only certain equipment after a certain point. They need to go in there with a loader, right? To be able to lift, like Gary said, you got to lift some of this snow up. And so, you went down some streets and it was single lane, right? For two lane road. So then they had to go in there, 2-3 times. And I think now the challenge is, it's a balancing act, because you have to obviously open up the secondary road so people can get out of these neighborhoods. But now you have more cars on the main roads. So if the roads aren't wide enough for the vehicles, it can be very difficult to travel. So, I mean, they've done a really good balancing act. You know, the other thing that I think, you know, is also, you know, noteworthy about kind of their operations over the last couple of days is, you know, we still had, you know, emergency calls that we were taking. And so, you know, for some of these neighborhoods, you know, our highway guys were the escorts so that they could get in and out of there. So I think that's another thing too, where they weren't just doing road clearings, but they also had to maybe go off their normal routes so that they could handle these emergency calls, or like Gary said, you know, pull some vehicles out. So, I mean, they've been all over it. They've done a phenomenal job. I can't say enough good things about what they're doing.
Well, when you think about the fact that, you know, here it is, what, 8:03 p.m., the snow literally stopped 24 hours ago.
Right.
And that was, you know, right, less than 24 hours ago. And, you know, we had areas, you know, 3 feet of snow. And in 24 hours, the amount that they accomplished really was amazing, given the limited amount of equipment that they have, the limited amount of staff they have. Jake posted a very long message on Facebook tonight, thanking the highway department, the fire department, the police department for all of their efforts, and to really, you know, tell people to just calm down a little bit. You know, it's a long road ahead still to get everything clear. You know, people forget that this was such a monumental storm, and this was not a regular storm that you were going to get plowed out in 4 or 5 hours after the snow had stopped. So I think they've done, a great job.
Yeah, and you know, the whole staff down there, and you know, they appreciate everything this committee's done for them. The capital request that we can approve and CIPC approves. So, you know, it goes a long way. It really goes a long way into putting that all back into the infrastructure. You know, we may not hopefully get another storm like this for a long, long time, but when it's needed, it's there. You know, and that's what's important.
Yeah, well, I'm sure we're going to see the bill.
Oh, we will. Thanks, Karen.
All right. Thanks, Gary. Thanks for doing that. I hope they didn't let you drive.
No. Only a passenger.
I'd want to drive. That would be fun. All right. So next item. So approved minutes. Let's pass over those again, and I'll try to make my effort for next week. Correspondence. I have no correspondence. Topics for our next agenda. I'm sure will be.
Christopher has his hand up.
Oh,
Karen.
go ahead, Christopher. Sorry.
Pardon me.
Yes, no worries. So I just had a question. Minutes, you know, I know we're piling up here, but I'm also curious about the recordings of the meetings. I think the last one is up there was the 20th. Is there any chance the next two, I think this would be the third meeting now. Is there any chance those can get posted to the Westport Government TV YouTube anytime soon?
Oh, I didn't realize they were not there.
You said
Yes,
the
I
last
think-
one was the 20th. Wasn't that our last meeting?
You mean January 20th?
January.
Oh,
the 20th
January.
is the last
Oh.
one. Yeah.
So it's missing. So
All
the
of February?
YouTube doesn't have.
So we don't have the what is it? Let's see, the third.
You're talking about the
and then
minutes, the minutes of the YouTube. Minutes of
You're
the
talking
YouTube.
No, I'm talking about the YouTubes. I'm talking about the YouTube
Okay,
videos.
not the minutes.
Oh, I wasn't aware they were not up. I think our recording clerk, Jess, she usually, as soon as the meeting ends, sends Cable the recording. So Jess, do you know if that's happening still on your end? So maybe something's on the Cable end, maybe.
Yes, I did send him to Valerie. It's just a matter of her posting it.
Okay. Can you, do you mind sending Valerie a note to just ask her for the status of those so we can
Yeah.
get caught up? That'd be great. Thank you.
No problem.
All right, great. Thanks. Thanks, Christopher. I didn't realize they weren't, I don't watch the
No
movie.
worries.
I don't watch it again once I, participate. So
No worries. I had a couple people asking me, so that's the only reason I brought
thank
it
you.
up. No worries, thank
The
you.
last thing I want
Once
to
is
do is
enough, right?
replay this.
Truly.
Thank you for bringing that up. Appreciate it. Topics for next meeting certainly will be the select board's approved budget and then the final warrant. So then we can start to dig in on those.
Actually, you know what? I am going to bring something up kind
Oh,
of
sure.
on the same vein of what Christopher was talking about. When tonight, for some reason, I had to go to the town website to pick up the link for this meeting. Normally it's in my calendar. It didn't work. But anyway, so I went to the town website and then it took me to the finance committee folder or the finance committee section. And our meetings are listed in 2025 are really the 2026 meetings. So Jess, if you could also take a look at our page on the town website, it's showing our meetings in 2025. And it's not dated 2026. We don't have a section for our meetings in 2026.
Is it fiscal year, Cindy, or calendar?
Okay, no problem.
I think that it's probably calendar year.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the website right now. So that's a change that is pretty easy to be done. We just have to create
Okay.
a new header under there. So
But so the
Um,
ones that are listed there, Chris, right, in for 2025, like the February one, that was the most
Okay.
recent, that actually took place in
Yeah.
2026, right?
yeah, so there's a couple, I think, boards that, when they posted their most recent meeting at the start of the year, that, might not just have created a new label.
Okay,
So we could just create, a 26 label, and then for
Okay.
the future agendas, we can, just plop them in there. That should be no problem.
I'm still feeling my way around the new website, so.
Me
Yeah.
too. It's, but that's no problem. We can get that for you.
Yeah, great. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up too. So we, want to make sure our information's up to date and transparent. So thank you both for that. Okay, so next meeting. So shall we meet next Tuesday,
Mhm.
Sure.
March 3rd?
Yeah.
Okay. Terrific. And then, that's great. Okay,
Motion to adjourn.
please do.
Nope. Just
Oh,
one,
Al-
one,
Did someone say
one-
no?
No. Al
Al,
had
you said no.
I'm happy to say yes. I forgot to mention earlier, I have been trying to get a hold of Nicole, which I think I sent you, Karen, and Cindy. I haven't heard from her. So, and I asked Susan Brayton if she could get in touch, because I'm the liaison there. So I just wanted to bring that up, that it's not through lack of trying. I just don't know what's going on.
Have you heard back from Dick Brewer yet, Al?
No, I have not. And I've gotten 2 emails into him as well. So obviously
People are
I'm off the
dodging you.
radar. They
Yeah.
are.
People are dodging you, Al.
I am really off the radar screen right now.
Or maybe they're all in Florida.
Right.
Well, they could be.
Is that being moved to, accounting being moved to the next meeting? Karen?
Well, we'll put it on the agenda and hopefully Nicole, we can confirm with Nicole for next week to
Yep.
do that. Because that is the one budget we did not get to tonight, was the town account. And that's our last budget for all of them.
I mean, I honestly, I think we all feel the same way, that the accountant's budget isn't going to move the needle of a $54 million budget considerably, but we still need to see it.
Mhm.
Okay, that's
All
all I
right,
have.
so
to
now
say.
we've got a motion to adjourn. I think we got a few seconds, right? A few folks second. So I'll go.
Everybody.
Everyone jumped to second that motion, so I'll go into a motion to adjourn. Christopher,
Christopher Thrasher, aye.
Thank you. Hugh,
Hugh Morton, aye.
Cindy,
Cindy Brown, aye.
Al,
Al Lee's aye.
Gary?
Yes.
I think we lost Nancy at some point. I don't know when.
Yes, we did.
But she's not here.
I don't know
Yeah, I'm not sure either. And then Karen Rouse, aye, so we are adjourned.